Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Alrighty. Oh man. Whew. Happy Thursday. Hope you guys are keeping warm. I heard it's snowing out, or was snowing earlier at least, or some kind of snow. Ooh. It's always snows at least once in April. So I don't know if it snowed at all in March though. So that's interesting at least. All right. So a couple things today. Take a peek at our schedule. Also, the second COVID shot turned out to not be as fun as I thought. I did all right on Tuesday morning with you folks, and then by about 2 p.m. or so, I just started fading real fast, which is about 24 hours after I got the shot. So, and then I slept about 12 hours straight. Slept a lot on Wednesday. It's been a mess, folks. I'm sorry. But we're here, and it's April 1st. So we're going to finish up Chapter 12, our just intro recap on JavaFX, creating GUI applications, basic controls. And we'll talk about our final project. I'm so excited. This should be a lot of fun. I mean, at least I think it's going to be fun. You guys, maybe you won't, but hopefully it'll be more interesting than some other boring things. It should be fun. And again, you're welcome to do this in pairs if you want to pair up with somebody. Find somebody on D2L or in Discord or, any way you want to pair up with a fellow classmate. If you want to pair up with someone in the evening class, you're welcome to do that too. I'm not too particular about who you pair up with as long as they're like actually in the class. That's cool. And then we'll plan to meet together. We'll probably do like a Zoom call on 4/29, and you can present your final projects, either individuals or the pairs. Hopefully, we'll have time. I don't think, I mean, if everyone takes 5 minutes or less to show their game, it shouldn't be too bad. That's kind of the goal there. If you can't make it, because it has been synchronous optional, async optional, I mean, whatever works best for you, we can arrange for something else. Either you can meet with me at a different time to present it, or you could record it if you need to, or I don't know. We've got some options, so we'll try and figure that out. Okay, and then we'll do that today. Next week, chapter 13, more advanced controls. The week after that, graphics, effects, and media. A little bit of notes on design patterns, which are really interesting and pretty cool. So we'll talk a little bit about those. And then that's the last of the content for the course. I had April 22nd and the 27th set aside for you to work on the final project. I can pop around, answer questions. Yeah, I have real mixed feelings about today. I personally try not to celebrate the day. It's just, I don't know. Then some people are really bad at it. There was what was it? Here out on Twitter. It's all sorts of nonsense. A real dumb one. Where'd it go? Here for my friends at chess.com. Yeah, here we go, chess.com. Let's see. They were like right about midnight or so, like they were out and ready, and it's actually kind of sad. There you go. Oh, these are like their. Okay, those are pinned. Okay, never mind. No, no, no. Come on. This one. Like, yeah, this was right about midnight. It's like, come on, April Fools. It's oh no, I didn't want to tweet a reply. I wanted to see the replies. So I have to click on it to see the thread. I'm so bad at navigating Twitter. But my friend Levi Rosman here, I think we've gone to his channel occasionally. This is my feeling. You had all year to make a joke, and this is what you made. So, okay. Yes, it is April Fool's. I don't have any pranks for you. I'm sorry. I'm not that clever. Hope that's not disappointing. Okay, so let's fire up NetBeans. Look at that. It's loading fast this time. That's impressive. Or now it's going to slow down all of a sudden, right? Who knows? Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, the progress bar is meaningless. That's just nonsense. How you folks doing this morning, anyway? Forgot to ask. Hopefully you got your coffee. I just made my first pot of the day. It was sad. Had to make sure I hit the start button before I came upstairs. I'm pretty sure I told it to start. Now I'm worried that I put the ground in, put the water in, and forgot to hit start. I can't smell if it's cooking anything, or brewing. Brewing's the word. Can't tell if it's brewing from here. Doing fine? Oh, nice. Applying to graduate. That's awesome. Ooh. It does remind me. I am supposed to ask you, all you fine folks. Saw a chessboard and half the board was Minesweeper. That's the new, it's Minesweeper chess. I don't know. I'm sure it's hard to come up with something believable about chess. Um, but um, apparently it's in the works. Nothing that we'll see anytime soon. That they're going to renovate the L building at the Orchard Ridge campus. And as part of that renovation process, they'll move CIS and business over there, which is exciting. So we'll be moving from F building. I don't know if anyone's ever been to the campus and seen the classrooms in F building that are small and cramped and barely fit 24 computers in them. So they'll move into nice newer classrooms and we get a chance to design them and do sorts of fun things. So they said, hey, you should ask your students what sort of things they'd want to see in new classrooms or a new building. So it's not actually a new building, it's just a renovated building, but they're going to gut it. So new-ish building, I guess. And they're like, ask your students. And then I said, well, when is this going to be ready? And they're like, oh, well, we have to move everyone out of L building first, and that won't happen until the end of 2021, and then they get to start building things. So I was like, oh, so they'll never see this new building, will they? And they're like, oh, maybe not. But if there's things that you wish you had in the CIS building or CIS classrooms or labs or that sort of thing, I would love to hear it, and then I can tell them all the things students wish for, and that'll be fun. So, or maybe you can come back and visit sometime. Okay. Let's see. I'm not salty at all that the Auburn Hills campus gets a brand new building, like built bottom up new building, and we get this renovated old building. But that's okay. Don't worry. Minesweeper bombs on the chessboard. I don't know why, but that's just sounds amusing. It's like a crossover game, right? Excuse me. All right. Just don't put your king on a bomb. Well, what if it's like what's the game? Stratego? Folks remember Stratego? You like have one army on your side, another army on the other side, and you have different pieces that move, and you had bombs, and then you had minesweeper or bomb diffuser people. That's a fun game. I still play that one. Yeah, Stratego. All right. Let's see. Can that NetBeans finally load? It did finally load. Hooray. Hooray. And neither of those were us. Okay, close those projects. And let's start up a new project here to go through all of those wonderful steps again. Java with Ant. But I also need the one I need to copy. So this is chapter 12, more examples. Sure. We'll go with that. And then I'll find my GitHub repository here. Because those are all the things I need to copy. All right. Here's our GUI hello world. Okay, let's grab a couple imports. Oh, come on, NetBeans. You know, I did see someone, my computer's been hot lately, and someone told me that these computers are so smart that they'll actually like kneecap the CPU if it's running too hot to keep it from overheating. And I'm wondering if that's part of my problem here, and that it's getting too warm and it's slowing itself down. I feel like it shouldn't be this slow, and it didn't used to be this slow, so maybe it's got like too much cat hair in there. I need to blow it out. Get a little can of air duster or something. That might be it. Extends application, paste in our imports, sure. And then we can change main to launch and add a start. Okay, got that. And then I'm going to grab this line here, go add to my project run VM options, add modules. And then we'll go to our libraries and we'll add the library. And we want the JFX 16. Awesome. Got that added. We got matches my JDK 16. And then the last one we do here is we go to the libraries run module path, and we give it that library. There we go. Cool. So we got all those things in there. Then we'll go add our fxml file. An empty fxml file. For fxml, we can go with that. Yes, we want a controller. Let's make a new controller. We don't need cascading style sheets. Do more of that later. Got that. And then the name of our file here, more fxml. We need to make sure we throw in here. Okay. Okay, cool. I think we did all the steps to start our project there. So if I hit run, we should get a blank screen. Let's see how well that works. I think that's gotta be it. Yeah, I think my computer's just running too hot. That's interesting. There's some utility to check that. I forget what it is. Check temperature of Surface Book. It's gotta be a way. Aha. Yeah, answers.microsoft.com. Oh, here we go. I got my window. Okay, so things are looking good so far. Ah, CPU ID monitor. Huh. What is that? CPU ID monitor? I don't even know what that is. I probably don't have it installed. No. Okay. So let's Google for that. That's weird. You don't actually run an ad blocker. They're just trying to make me feel bad? Don't want the pro version, right? I don't want to test it. No. Huh. Probably that one. System information. Okay. System monitoring. I'll take a look at that later. But that was curious. All right. So then I want to fire up Scene Builder. So that way I can go modify that fxml class, that fxml file, sorry, and core temp. Okay. I just want to see what it thinks all the temperatures, because I can hear the fan running real hard on this, and like we haven't really done a whole lot of anything, and it feels kind of warm. So makes me suspicious. Well, there's Scene Builder. Hello, hello. All right, and we want to file open, and we'll go find that file. Let's see, documents, GitHub, 2151, chapter 12, more examples, source, chapter 12, more examples, more FXML. There we go. Yeah, that is unfortunate. And it's been pretty solid for me previously. So probably all the cat hair. Cat's yeah, that's my guess. All right, so right now, right, with our blank anchor pane, we can just throw all sorts of things in here if we want with no particular layout. Click the file in NetBeans, really? Did I just double click it? I don't know what the button is. There's got to be an extension, right, to open Scene Builder. That makes so much more sense. Let's Google that one. Means open XML in Scene Builder. I think because it's not officially the project or something. Maybe that's it. Ah, right-click the file node. Yeah, because it's not. Is it because it's not an FXML application, maybe? And right-click. Open it with Scene Builder or edit. Interesting. I don't have an open, though. I only have an edit. That's sad. I think if you're using the official Oracle Java version 1.8, all of this just works a little bit easier. But then there's the weird licensing stuff, which we can obviously do it for free because we're academic use, but it's obnoxious to have to go through their licensing stuff, and we'd rather just stick with the open source stuff. Yeah, because it knows it's an FXML file, but there's just no link right there. Maybe there's a way to force it. Aha, is that it? Maybe that's it. We just need to tell it where it is. Tools, options, Java FX. Let's look for that. Tools, options. Java FX. Look at that. We didn't need to locate a valid Scene Builder home, possibly. Let's go browse. I know where I put Scene Builder. I installed it in my OpenDev folder. See? OpenDev. Scene Builder. Do I just save that folder? What folder am I supposed to pick? Oh, this one. Specify location of the Scene Builder installation folder. Okay. Is that it? Okay. I do have an open button. Tim, you are amazing, sir. You are amazing. I've been putting up with this slow, inefficient way of having to find the file myself when all I needed was an open button. Watch it not work now. That's the kind of day it's going to be. This was just an elaborate April Fool's Day joke. Oh, it's opening Scene Builder. Amazing. You get a bunch of bonus points, sir. Look at that. It turns out the people who write software know how to do things a little easier. That's pretty cool. All right, so anyway, our anchor pane, if we wanted, we could just drop a bunch of stuff into here. Right, we could do all that. That's perfectly fine. We could take our button, throw that in there. We can take a label. Label. Throw a label in there, right? These are the things we did before. Nothing super fancy. And give them a save. And you'll see you can like specify, here's your layout X, here's your layout Y. That's where they're going in this anchor pane. So the things before where we had those, like the vertical boxes or the horizontal boxes or the grid layouts, all those sorts of things, you didn't have to tell it what X and Y. You just put it somewhere. Right? You just put it in the container, and the container manages all of that. So that's sort of the benefit of using containers instead of just throwing things on an anchor pane. Now, either way is okay. I mean, depending on what you want to do, you can go either route. So you might see them this way, you might see them the other way. It's not too big of a deal. I'm a big fan of using containers, though, because I think that just generally makes life a little easier. And I showed you the border layout container before. The border pane layout where you've got the top, you got the bottom, you got the left, you got the right. That one is by far my favorite. And then inside of that, you can add additional layouts, right? So if we throw the border layout in here and make it take up all the screen here or something silly, right? I can open up border pane and I can see, hey, there's stuff in the top, the left, the center, the right, and the bottom. And it's kind of flexible as to where we can put things. Just to give you, a way to divide it up without having to add a bunch of other containers here. But it's not the only one. We got lots of different ones we can add here. Right? We can just do a whole grid pane and get that grid. We can do the boxes, flows, stacking, splits. Those are all fun. Tabs are really neat. I think it's probably easier to just do different fxml files than to manage tabs, but that's just a personal preference. Okay, so lots of different options, and then we can throw different components into these. So if I want to put like a vertical box on the left, I can add a bunch of things to that vertical box. So again, we just we put containers inside of containers usually to make everything fit. And then we can add stuff. So I'll do a horizontal box in the top and a horizontal box in the bottom. Just so I've got all the different sections and places I can put things there. Right? And you can see we could have done it with this fxml by hand. Right? Here's the left vertical box, here's the right, here's the top, here's the bottom. And so we can find all of those if we want. Not too big of a deal here. Okay. But if we want to be able to programmatically add stuff to it or put things in, take things out, right, we need to give them all some IDs and some names. Right? Because right now, when I go make my controller, there's still like nothing to do. There's no methods, no attributes, because we didn't name anything. Right, so you need to make sure you're giving them names. The FX ID, I'm sorry, giving them IDs. Sorry, not names, IDs here. Give them IDs here. So this is the bottom box. Here is the top box. Here's a left box. And here's a right box. Okay, give all those a save. And then when I make the controller, right, they should all show up as attributes because they have those FX IDs. And then I can reference them to get all their attributes, either if I want to add things or take away things. Right, we can get their list of children and we can add from it, we can remove from it. We can kind of be setting them as we go. Because it's not going to be the case where we can put everything we want on the screen at once. We might want to set up like the shell of here's where all the things can go on the screen, but then as my program runs, I'll put different pieces up on the screen. Right, so I'll just add different components to my list here as we go for these. Okay? And let's do the button then, right? Not a container. There we go. Our little button, we'll throw that guy in the middle there. And we want an action for button click. or something. Button click, sure. We'll call it a button click. Okay, we'll come back and make our controller. Needs to update it. It's a little bit obnoxious. It doesn't do it automatically for you, but that's okay. Now we get our button click method. Okay. So nothing in the initialize right now. That's okay. Any of those. There we go. Right. So we said when we clicked a button, we could go and add something or create an object, right, and add it to one of these things. So I don't know. We could make a little label equals a new label. Oops, not thread. Why? How did that even get to thread? Label is a new label. Happy April 1st. And we can add that label to a bunch of places. Yes, we want the FX label, not the AWT label, not the JDK JFR label. We have the FX label. There we go. Yeah, scene control label. There we go. Okay, so we could find, I don't know, I think we did what, the left box, get children, to get all the list of children. Of course, it doesn't show up right away, but that's fine. And then we want to add a node. And turns out label is a node, right? It's a type of node. And for fun, we could do this with, like, we can add it multiple places. Right box. How about a top box? And maybe a bottom box. We'll add it to all of them. Just for fun. And we'll see. Oh, uh-oh. It's only in my bottom box. Tried adding it to more than one. Looks like it only stuck around in that bottom box. So maybe we need to make new labels then, right? So what's happening behind the scenes is these are observable lists, observable collections of items, which is fun. So that when they change, the UI actually updates itself, because it has this observable event. We'll get more into that, not in this chapter, but a little later, when doing things that are observable. That's a lot of fun. Right, so maybe we make a bunch of new labels then. We make a new label every time, right? Then we have a new object. Let's see if that is any happier. Excuse me. There. Do, do, do. So like the side ones, left and rights are growing, top and bottom aren't. Isn't that fun? All right, cool. Happy April 1st. All right, so that's about as far as we got. Yes, or not even yesterday, man. So I like slept all the Wednesday. It was bad. No, most of Tuesday and Wednesday. Yeah, lost a day and a half of time there. I think I made it for the Wednesday morning class. Yeah, I did my Wednesday morning class and I went back to bed again. And then we had the really long meeting about the building. It's all coming back to me now. Okay, so you can add things programmatically if you want to, and kind of mix and match it. So that's often what we're going to do is we'll kind of build the layout here in Scene Builder, because that's easy to build the layout, and then we can add things programmatically inside of it instead of adding everything. And again, there's nothing wrong. I mean, we could have created everything right off the bat and said, okay, when I want to start my page, I can go and create all these things, but it's a lot of work, right? If you wanted to build everything out in your start to add all the objects to your scene and set that instead of this root off the XML. So this is definitely my preferred approach. Okay. All right. Now, I don't want to get too far ahead because we'll get into more of these controls in Chapter 13. So that's fine. We'll get into more of those in 13. Yeah, we get, okay, so all the other fun stuff we get into 13. Okay. All right, why don't we talk about the final project? That sound like fun? You know, everyone's been excited to start this final project. Fire this up here. There you go. There. Assignments. Find it here. All right, this is our final project. No game. Yeah, sorry, Yogi. Yeah. All right, and then say April 29th, right? And this is, we need to present at 10 in the morning for this one here. Not 11, no, 10. 10 in the morning. I think I need to choose from grades. I don't have one, so I need to add a new one to final project. There we go. So we'll say like 25 points. It should be easy to add those ones up. Again, the points only matter within the category, so don't worry about that. The project itself is 25% of your score there. So we're doing this in lieu of a big final exam, because final projects are better anyway. Here. We're going to create a Java FX application that allows the user to play, we're going to play Blackjack. Blackjack is a fun game. So if we just look up Blackjack here, the Wikipedia page is actually pretty helpful. I just got to go, I guess I should have searched Blackjack Wikipedia now. Oh, right here. Thank you. There we go. That was a weird redirect. Okay. So that's all about the game. So we are going to we want to have 1 to 4 players able to play at once. More than that is just going to get a little crowded on the screen. So I think 1 to 4 is probably a decent size there. All right. And the way that Blackjack works, you might have also heard it named 21. So that's an option, right? 21. 1 or more players play against the dealer. So the players don't play against each other, right? They really just play against the dealer themselves. Okay? And here we go. Players each get 2 cards. We're going to play the face-up route here because we want to see the cards, right? And the dealer's dealt 2 cards, 1 up and 1 down. So we see 1 of the dealer's cards, okay? Or they only get 1, sure. I guess it doesn't matter, right? The value of your card, right, is 2 through 10. Face cards are also 10. And then aces are 1 or 11, which is very interesting. So there's a bit of additional logic that has to happen there. So the value of your hand is the sum of all those cards. Okay? You can draw additional cards on your turn many times as you want. But what happens is if you go over 21, your hand busts. Oh, did all right, it's still working for you, Scholar? It's good? Okay, so if you exceed 21, you immediately lose. Doesn't matter what happens to the dealer. So there's typically an incentive to not go over 21. Right? If the dealer goes over 21 and the player has not, the player wins. Okay? And if neither player busts, right, whoever has the higher sum wins. So if I have 19 and I stopped, and the dealer had 17 and they stopped, then the player wins. If the player stopped at 17 and the dealer got 19, the dealer wins. Okay? If both people get the same hand, it's a tie or a push, and nobody wins. If you get an ace and a 10 card, that's typically a natural blackjack. Right? Usually this pays out more, usually like a 1.5 times payout of your bet. And again, that sort of varies depending. But that's not getting to 21 with any number of cards. This is specifically you get an ace and a 10 value card. It's a blackjack there. Okay? There's lots of different rule variations, lots of different ways to play it here. But what we're going to do is we are going to try and give our players an edge by counting cards. So, let's see. Yeah, those are all shuffled together. So, typically you have between 1 and 8 decks of cards at a time. And that gets all put together into the stack of cards that are going to be dealt from. So it's not usually played with a single deck of cards. I think 6 is usually pretty common, maybe 8. Depends on where you go. Okay? So we're going to put all the decks of cards together, and we're going to play our hands from these. Sorry, I've got this scab here that's really itching in my hand, my arm. It's distracting. Did the stream come back for you, Yogi? I think it's there, okay? All right. That is usually like the dealer's shoe. Sure. That's like where they put all the cards. Okay. So a couple things. All right, cool. So you can get an extra card or take an extra card. You can stand, means you stop. You can double down. So this is saying you're going to double your bet and take one last card. So exactly one more card. That's a double down. Okay. You can split your hand if you have 2 cards of the same. I don't think value is actually the proper term there. I thought it was specifically the face, like they had to be 2 2s or 2 10s or 2 queens. I didn't think you could split. Yeah. Identical ranks. So not a 10 and king. Usually all 10s are treated the same. That's news to me. I don't usually play that way. Usually you have to have the identical ranked hands. And a surrender means you just give half your bet to the bank and you give up. Huh. Sure. Okay, so we're going to let players choose what their options are. So it happens one player at a time. So like if you have 4 people playing, player 1 does their hand. They end up busting or they end up standing. Right? And then player 2 either busts or stands. Player 3 busts or stands. Player 4 busts or stands. And then the dealer goes. That's why it's a popular game at casinos, because the fact that players have to go first and could just lose their money right off the bat to the casino, right? They like that. They like taking people's money. In fact, that is kind of why casinos exist. Right? They're in the business of taking people's money for entertainment, right? If you view it as entertainment spending instead of investing, so it is not an investment. If it's fixed what you can spend on entertainment for the evening, fine. You go and have a good time, right? If you're going there trying to win money and thinking you can do better than the casino, it's going to go poorly for you. And not to say you won't ever win or have a good night, but the casinos exist because they make money, right? They don't stay in business giving money away to people all the time. So, okay. When it comes to the dealer's turn, the dealer has a certain set of rules they have to follow. Where is it here? Here we go. The dealer, where is it here? There we go. Yep. After all the players have played, the dealer draws until they get to 17 or higher. So once the dealer hits 17, they stop. That's the hard and fast rule for the dealer. Okay, the dealer never doubles, they never split, they never surrender. So if the dealer busts, any player who hasn't busted wins. Right? If they don't bust, then whoever has the higher hand wins, or maybe they push or they tie. Right? So it is possible that if you got your blackjack, right, you might end up tying with the dealer if they also had a blackjack. So you're not guaranteed to win just because you get a blackjack. Okay? And a blackjack beats any hand that's not a blackjack, even if you also totaled up to 21. So you get paid like 50% more than your bet with a blackjack bonus. So just depends on the rules here, but we can pick 1.5 times your bet because that works out pretty well. Man, this is super itchy. This scab. Sorry. Oof. Oh, that was the wrong option there. Okay, so we're setting up the game so players can play, and then we need to have some additional, oh yeah, here we go, depending on how many decks, there's additional house advantage percentages. So like this is why casinos will usually run with 8 decks. It gives them the best advantage here. Excuse me. Okay. You don't need to worry about resplitting. Don't worry about that. Just a single split is okay. And you can't double down after you split. It's usually not allowed for that. Don't worry about this Reno rule. It's okay. All right, so here's the basic strategy, right? Is that depending on what your hand is, the total of your hand, should we stand? Should we hit? Should we, one of these is like a surrender. Oh, there we go. Surrender, if possible. Okay, so this is the basic strategy for your totals. Or if you have pairs of things, you almost always want to split. Except for tens. Right, so this up here is saying this is what the dealer's face-up card is. Right, so if the dealer has a face-up 2, we're going to do a different thing than if the dealer has a face-up ace. So remember, in a deck of cards, right, I think you guys are familiar with decks of cards, there's tens, jacks, queens, and kings. So there's 4 different face cards out of 13 that are worth 10 points each. So 4 out of 13 is almost 25%, not quite exactly. But so if they have an ace showing, the odds of them having a blackjack are pretty good. Not like overwhelmingly good, but there's a decent chance of it, right? Because almost 25% of the deck is worth 10 points. So if you know they have an ace, there's a pretty good chance they've got a 10 underneath. Not overwhelming, but there's a decent chance they have it. So we have different odds. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to start counting cards to give players an advantage. Now this is illegal, or at least external devices. Sure. Using devices is illegal. If they can tell that you're counting, they might ask you to leave, because when you start counting, you can get an edge of up to 2% over the house. So it's possible, through the wonders of mathematics, you can increase your player's edge. Okay? Hey, Snake. So this is what we want to do, is we want to start doing card counting for our players to see if they can start winning money off the house or the casino, our pretend casino. Right? There's no actual real money being passed around. This is totally pretend, just an academic exercise here. Okay? So we're not doing anything weird. Identifying cards from distinctive wear markings on their back. Observing the dealing process of the front of the card dealt face down. Okay, sure. Yeah, all sorts of interesting stuff. But the main way of counting. So what happens in this basic counting strategy is we're trying to see when there are more high value cards available. Sort of the idea. Because if you make bigger bets when you have an advantage, because if there's a lot of aces and tens left in the deck, you have a greater chance of getting a blackjack. Okay? You might double down in more cases if you know there's a bunch of tens left in the deck. Right? So if you know that the dealer has a certain card, right? So if like the dealer has a 7, right? Then if their other card is a 10, you know they're going to stop. So you being at an 8, maybe, if you had like a value of an 8, it might be better for you. And again, this is not, there's all sorts of odds you could look up. You can buy books about it, those sorts of things. So we're just going to be tracking the count here for them. Okay? Play it once. So players can hit, stand, double down, split, duplicate its values. Where'd my page go here? There we go. Make sure we're getting all the right rules in here. So this is after the dealer checked for blackjack. You could surrender. Let's forget about surrender. Don't worry about surrender. Or split. Don't worry about surrender. Okay? So we can do that. We're going to be tracking a count of the cards that have been played. So we'll start with, let's do 6 decks. Shuffled into the dealer's shoe. And play until, or don't reshuffle till you get to what, less than, we'll say like 30 cards. So once you get to less than 30 cards, we'll reshuffle. So they never play all of the cards out of the shoe, because then someone who's like actually counting or has a really good memory would know exactly what cards are left. So we'll just get to about 30 cards are left, and then we'll reshuffle the shoe. Okay? And we'll keep this counting strategy going here. Yeah, blackjack's a very interesting game. Very interesting. Okay, so here's the example count here. Checking. The game should keep a count of the cards played. Okay. And then what we need to do is we are also going to give a way for our player to save the game. So we're going to include a save and load game feature that makes the current game its values and hands and the the shoe to a file to load for later. Right, so we're able to store stuff in a file. So remember, if you make all these things serializable, you can just write them in binary form to disk. If you want to write them in text form, you can do that too. I am not particular one way or the other how you want to go about it. I'll just say it's probably easier to do it in a binary format, right? Because then you make your class serializable, spit it out to disk, you're good to go. But yeah, you can do it in text-based format too, in a text file. There's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like that'll be a little more work. But that's just me. Okay. So obviously if you load a game, our players are there already existing. A new game will ask how many players. Start players with, I don't know, $100 or so. Start at $1. And our bets start at $1. And they could bet more. They could bet no less than 1. Right? So they could bet $10 a hand. They could bet all 100 on the hand. Whatever. If you don't have the money, you can't double down. Right? And splitting, I believe, we'll double check that. You have to double your bet as well. Yeah, that's the second bet equal to the first. Yep. So like you're essentially having to re-bet that amount here on that other hand that you've split. Okay. All right, and then we're just going to keep on playing. So the house never runs out of money, right? But a player is done when they run out of money. Player is out of the game. They run out of money. All players out of money. Game is over. The dealer never runs out. Okay. So we'll have their 6 decks. That's the start there. Right, and we'll play down to 30 or less cards. Once we get less than 30, we'll reshuffle at the end of the hand. Reshuffle the end of the hand. Like you don't reshuffle in the middle of the hand. Like you'll play out that hand. Every person gets their action, and then you'll reshuffle all the cards. Start with 6 decks again. Okay. So I think that's the gist of it there. How you folks feeling? So definitely doable by an individual, definitely doable in a pair. If you're working together, let me know. I can set up a GitHub repository. You folks even can actually now. You're allowed to have free private repositories. I just asked to make sure that it is a private repository. Not that any of your classmates would go and be looking for your code online, but if it's not a private repository, all your code is publicly accessible to anyone who wants to go find it. So I'd be happy to help set one up for you. And that way I'll make sure I have access to it as well, if you want to work with somebody. Just a couple of things, if you are working with someone, kind of coordinate just a little bit. If you're both making changes to the file at the same time, it's going to get messy really quick. There's things we can do about that to fix it. It's a little bit beyond the scope of this class, but I'd be happy to talk you through it if your pair is interested. Okay? All right, I'll work on getting a rubric set up in a little while. So this will be our final project. Hopefully it should be a fun game to play, And then, using this card counting here will give you that kind of that edge there, for maybe it'll be a little easier to see what we're supposed to do. Right, so we have this recommended strategy. Where'd that one go? This is just sort of the recommended strategy here. Right, but as we're counting, we might want to modify that strategy. I don't think they've got any of that here, but there's all sorts of modified strategies you could follow if you are counting cards. Right, this is just the basic. Okay. So again, following this, you're still likely to lose money. Maybe not quite as much. It minimizes the house advantage, but unless you're counting, you can't gain advantage over the house. Okay. Somehow that's the best for you. Wow. That's fun. Okay, so again, card counting is sort of what we're going to do here. It is legal, not cheating, as long as you're only using your brain, apparently. But they're welcome to kick you out. All right, thoughts, questions, concerns? Don't forget we got study group today at 4. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about doing our FX applications where we'll have the starting page where you might want to, hey, do you want to load a game, start a new game, and a new game, how many players do you want? And then move that into another FXML page of the actual game itself. Trying to do this all on one page is just going to be obnoxious for you. External device is illegal. If you put a computer in your brain, maybe? I don't want to take an opinion on that, scholar. All right, so I think that's all we've got today. We covered the rest of the FXML Chapter 12 starting stuff. I'm in class, go out. Jubilee, out. So we can look at more advanced controls, some radio buttons sort of things, checkboxes. It's all doable with just regular buttons and labels, but it's not going to be as interesting. So we'll want some of those advanced controls, and then when we get to Chapter 14, we'll look at throwing pictures in there, which is pretty cool. So if we actually have some media, we can have a pretty looking hand there, and we'll get into that, where you can actually show a picture of the card instead of, hey, here's the text value of your card. Because we want to make this an enjoyable game to play and that sort of thing. Yeah, so we'll go from there. Yeah, you're part cyborg at that point. As long as they shuffle enough, right? Yeah, if you just do, 8 decks and you only play through 1 deck at a time or something before you reshuffle, it's really hard to get any count going. But all right, other questions, thoughts, concerns, or do you feel ready to really start looking at it? Again, we're going to want to do this with an object-oriented design where we have classes that have all this information with their public methods. Right? That's just a good way of building our code. If you make all this logic happen in the event handler button, it's going to go terribly for you. It's doable, but it's going to be really, really difficult to try and manage all of that in button event handlers. So what we want to do is we're going to build a blackjack class that we can interact with, independent of anything that happens in the GUI. I said 25, but it doesn't actually matter. It's 25% of your final score. So I'll work on getting that rubric out there so you can see the point values, right, don't matter outside their categories. So, and then the percentage score you get on this, I'll use to overwrite your lowest scoring individual project. So it can even be worth more than that if you do well on it. Right, so if you get 100% on it, which is the goal, I want everyone to finish this and get 100% on it, then whatever project, individual project you did worst on, you can get that 100%. Okay? We hit save and close there. All right, so we've got a month. Definitely want to start thinking about this, start planning it out, designing some solutions. I don't know if you want to start coding anything just yet. I mean, you could do the Blackjack class itself. We'll need a couple more of those UI things we'll be talking about next week and the week after to kind of polish it. But we should be able to get a basic version of it going relatively soon, I think. Okay? All right, so that's all I've got today then. Don't forget we have study group today at 4. It is Thursday, right? Study group at 4. You're definitely welcome to attend study group and talk about the project. All you guys want to talk. But again, if you're sharing code, you've probably gone a little too far in terms of that collaboration and discussion. Okay? So general ideas, designs, that's all well and good. It's definitely good to talk about. Okay? All right, and I'm not going to have any more quizzes about the GUI chapters. It's not, I don't know, and we're kind of not doing what Gaddis is doing anyway, because we're not doing it programmatically. So I think we're done with our individual quizzes then. I'll work on getting those midterms graded for you, and we'll be good on our quizzes. Okay, so we are wrapping things up. I'll finish work on grading those individual projects, the midterms. Everything should be in the books come April. And we are in the home stretch for the semester. It's been a lot of fun. I'll see you folks on Tuesday then. Right, let's see if there's anyone around we can go pester online. Go send a raid off somewhere. Let's see. Who's around? Let's go do some chess with our friend Gotham. See if we can raid his channel for fun. All right, it's open to a raid. Sweet. So, you folks take care. We'll go over there, learn some chess, have some fun, and be glad we're not building a chess game. It's a little more complex than blackjack. Take care.